I guess this will go back to volleyball again because it was so all-encompassing. My parents were not able to be there for me a lot, and I had some really fantastic educators step in. So every year for Parents' Night at volleyball, I had 2 teachers who would step in and they would walk as my mom and dad. That's a really memorable thing, just because that's when I kind of figured it out. You know what, these people care about me. They're not here to just make sure that I do my homework. They really care about my feelings and my thoughts. And that is absolutely by far the best memory I've had from high school.
Mrs. Fluegge.
Many memorable experiences, probably none we should talk about. But from being in the building, we'll start with that. The excellent teachers from kindergarten on up. I love seeing them today when I get to see some of them. It's great. Probably one of the best this year was walking into this school and walking my son to 7th grade, and we had the same teacher. That was pretty cool, Mrs. Eustace. I was like, oh, how often does it happen that you know, and she didn't want to talk about it. So, that was fine. So, I mean, that's a good experience even now for me. I thought it was really cool. I love graduation, not only because I was done, just because it was a great experience to get to see all the hard work you went through and really know that you did work hard and get the work done. So that was memorable.
Mr. Engberg.
Is there anyone here that remembers the class of 1960? Raise your hand. Well, my memorable experience, actually there were 2. The first one was, as I say, I got elected as homecoming king. And certainly that was a delightful experience. The next thing was we had a thing called Skip Day in those days. I don't know if that's still a tradition or not, but for some reason they decided to cancel it our year. And being full of vim, vigor, and vitality, the class decided to take it anyway. But before we left, the smartest kid in the class and I went out to his uncle's farm and we rounded up a leghorn rooster. And that morning we carried it into the school in a box, and I opened the teacher's lounge and he just let the chicken loose. I think they were chasing that all day long, and finally flew out a window on the 3rd floor. So that was one of the memorable ones.
Mr. McCabe.
This side, the right side? I'd rather be on the right side. I was trying to think of a memorable experience that I had in high school that really meant something, and I carry it forward for a long time. And that was, we had to take and study the classics, Shakespeare and the Greek classics. And not only did we have to study them, but we had to recite. We were responsible for soliloquies, standing up in front of the class and memorizing them and reciting them, not just verbiage, but with feeling and emotion. And we had to act the part out. And I was terrified of that the first time around. I thought, I can't do that. I don't like English and Shakespeare. I like math and that other stuff and graphs. But after I did it, I thought it was fun. And it was really memorable. And most of the kids loved it. And it was very, very educational. And you know, when you go down to the Guthrie in Minneapolis, you're going to have the opportunity to see other people play out those parts that you had to.
Mr. Woods.
Lisa, I have to put a lot of thought into what any particular one incident in high school that was particularly memorable. It really wasn't that, it was more the accumulation of ideas. I remember in like my junior year in high school, some of the teachers were just hard, like my algebra and calc teachers. I thought, these guys are crazy. They were sending me home with homework that I couldn't get done in a week. But the part that really sticks in my head is starting college. Graduating from high school, starting college, and thinking back, that's why they did this. That's because college was just you hit the ground running. But I had such an appreciation for those teachers that saw that in me, that I could do that work, and they pushed me and they believed in me and made me do that work. And that's kind of the thing that probably my most memorable time in high school was actually just after high school, thinking back on it was kind of that epiphany moment of what a great group of teachers that I was fortunate to have.
Mr. Jensen.
Well, I briefly told you about the 9th grade play and stuff with Mr. Lester, but one of my biggest memories is of the creamery site and the vocational program down there. We had a small engine, we had building an actual home, we had wood, wiring, plumbing, brick work with Mr. Billstrom, block work, welding class with Mr. Jones here in the building. Those were hugely memorable experiences to me. And then, in looking out at the audience tonight, I saw Mr. Belt, and I wrote down a Greek proverb earlier. It totally fits him because in like 7th or 8th grade, he took us up on a field trip up at the county line, and we were looking at trees. And society grows great when an old man plants a tree whose shade they shall never sit in. I seriously mean that. Mr. Bell taught me that. Thank you.